Hello, my name is Gitonga, ama ukipenda Uncle T, and I invite you into my channel today, and today I want to talk about addiction and alcoholism. If I give you my story, for me I started using drugs and alcohol when I was in Form 2 back those years, and I used it for all up to Form 4. I was introduced to friends in Form 2 in high school. And I remember this day I used to smoke cigarettes behind the dormitories after the night plebs. We'd go gather behind the bathroom and smoke cigarettes. And there is this night that, as usual, we went with my buddies in crime behind the bathroom. And this time around, the cigarette that I took, it made me start having distorted perception. Yes, I started feeling some perception change. Nikaanza kusikia hata the weed growing in a funny way, and also I started hearing the dogs in the neighborhood, in the school neighborhood, barking like they are in a choir in unison. And I also started hearing the sounds of weed, the blowing the trees around. It's like they were whispering. And I started laughing. We were about 5 guys, and I started laughing, and the other guys also started laughing and laughing, uncontrollably. And I remember these guys, they escorting me to the hostel. And remember, and when I got into the hostel, it got funnier and funnier because I could hear my classmates giving stories. It was like a movie. Actually, it was so exciting. It was so exaggerated. And I remember one of my decker mate stuffing some bed sheet into my mouth to control my laughing, because we didn't want to attract unwanted attention. Later the following morning, I learned that I've smoked weed. And from that time, I started practicing, getting into just abusing over and over and over until I cleared Form 4. And then I got to college, and I was doing a very nice course, analytical chemistry. And in college, I was so surprised that I got so many young people who are also doing drugs. By this time, drugs has gotten better part of me, because I've also developed a liking in reggae music, especially Bob Marley music, culture, mighty culture, Lucky Dube, Don Carlos, all those reggae music, Alpha Blood. Yeah, so in college, I got deeper and deeper into drugs, and after I graduated, I got a very nice job at Coca-Cola Company as a quality control assurance. I worked for 3 years. After in 3 years, the drug has gotten better part of me. I was no longer using drug and alcohol, but this time I had even started taking alcohol. I was not doing them because I wanted to. I was doing drug and alcohol because my body was craving for them. Yeah, so I worked for 3 years, and then I realized I didn't have enough time to drink and take drugs. So I just decided to walk out of the company, and became a hawker in our hometown, Nyeri. I started hawking. For 1 year I hawked, and I had a lot of time having time to take drugs, alcohol, changa, in those changa den, illicit blue, that is, and also taking drugs. And I would wake up, go take a glass of changa and top up with weed, and then go start hawking. Lunch hour, I go then again back to the den and do some weeds and changa, and then in the evening I'll do it, and then make sure that I've carried a stock, because this time I was an addict. The addiction has already, I had become an addict. And I continued that for another 1.5 years. That's when I realized that I really needed to quit taking drugs, because I could start. I had already started seeing that it was getting a toll in my life. But now the problem was to stop. I couldn't stop. I couldn't understand why I was using, like, I was committing suicide. I had some other guys that we were using drug and alcohol with. Some had managed to stop, and their life had gotten well. But for me, it was like I was cursed. I suspected maybe I was cursed. I was a weak person. I was imagining so many things. So along the way, after 1 year in hawking, I was recruited into insurance business. And I started wearing suit and tie, selling insurance. And in the morning, I would wake up, go take a weed and some changa, and then, and remember, this time I'm wearing a suit and tie, and then I would report, go marketing insurance, and lunch hour, maybe I would go to new places with teammates, and then all of a sudden I would look for an excuse to just disappear, go do my things, drug and all that, and then do some juicy fruits, those sweets, Big G and all that, and I used to hate this thing, but I didn't know how to get out of it. I used to get some money, but most of the money I would just use it in drugs and alcohol. And I tried to stop, I couldn't. So I started a journey of getting into different churches to get saved. I got saved in so many different churches, and I'm not against salvation. It's that time it didn't work for me. So I got saved into different churches. And I remember the last time I got saved, I had this man who took me to a liver. He had preached, he had done a good work of preaching to me, telling me that I needed to be dipped in the liver so that the addiction could be uprooted and be taken back to where it came from Indian Ocean, that is to Indian Ocean. And I remember I went, we were only two in a forest somewhere in a river. He dipped me in the river and then came out and he declared me a new creature, and I remember that evening the man came looking for me, and surprisingly enough, I was already drunk, I was already high. And the pastor declared me, he told me that I went in a dry sinner and came out a wet sinner. And from that time, I started suspecting that even God has done away with me. I had tried to contact God through salvation in different churches, but it seems like it was not working, By then it wasn't working, So, I remember I moved from our hometown, Nyeri. I came to Nairobi, geographical change, and in Nairobi now, I realized that, before I moved to Nyeri, I remember 2008, 2007, 2006, 2007, I had quitted, I had become dysfunctional. I was no longer selling insurance. I was just staying at home, waking up, going to the forest nearby where I used to live, just spend day there, taking drugs and in the name of meditation and all that. I had become dysfunctional. And I remember there were those managers who one day came for me at home and took me back to job, because when I was selling, I was doing it excellently. But I was having this drug always blocking my way, and this addiction was blocking my way. I knew where I wanted to go, but I couldn't. I could not make moves ahead. I remember there was a time I used to carry Bible and water and a notebook and weed. I go to the forest there, take weed, read the Bible, all that. Trying to pray and trying to ask God to save me out of the predicament I was in, and it was becoming tiring, always crying, deep crying in the forest, asking God, please remove this thing from me. It's killing me. I don't know what is happening. A lot of fear, shame, anger, resentment, bitterness. They were all in me, killing me inside. I reached a point where I used to hear even voices talking to me, you know. Yeah, every time I would take weed and alcohol, I would hear voices talking to me. If I don't take, I would still be restless, irritable, discontent, you know. Yeah, whether I take or not, I wasn't comfortable. I was crying inside, I was dying, you know. I even started having what we call suicidal thoughts. So one day I moved from Nyeri to Nairobi, and when I came into Nairobi, surprisingly enough, okay, before I came to Nairobi, I sobered up for 1 year. And that 1 year, my life changed a lot. My health improved because the addiction was getting toll on my health. So my health improved and all that. And after 1 year, 2009 Apple, I relapsed. Wow. Relapse is dangerous because I went down the spiral. So 2010, 2009, at the end of 2009, I moved to Nairobi. Came to Nairobi, where I landed in Ongata Rongai. I stayed, and surprisingly enough, that very day I discovered the ghetto near the place, and the pedra allowed, and my life. My vice continued all the way. I remember one day I went to Nakuru to give a talk to level 5 hospital staffs on financial stress management, planning and investment, because when I joined insurance, I changed career. I started doing financial trainings, you know. Yeah, so I remember this day I went to Nakuru, and early in the morning the meeting was starting at 10, and for 1.5 hours I had completed training, and then craving came, and I'm in a new town, Nakuru, you know. And after I left the hospital, I found a boda guy outside the gate and told him to take me to town. And as he was taking me to town, you know, I asked him where I could, I asked him to take me to a place where I can get weed, you know, because I was craving so much. I had this craving, and remember I was in a suit and tie, you know. Outside I was smartly dressed, but inside I was dying, my friend. I was really dying, you know. If you're going through such thing, I feel you, man. I feel you, you know. This is a very dangerous addiction. Wow, it's dangerous. It isolates. We'll come to talk about that. So the guy took me to a certain place, you know. He wondered what a smart guy has to do with these things, you know. But he could not understand, you know. So he took me somewhere. I gave him 100 shillings. He took me somewhere after bribing him, and he showed me where I can get the weed, you know. And where I went, I found some chocolate who were selling the weed, and again they were hesitant to sell me the weed, so I bought one. I gave one some 20 bob. And I told him, that is for you. Now this other 20 bob is for me, just get it. And these guys were very, very nice. You know, they told me, this weed, you don't take it, you just take 3 puffs, you know, not more, not less. And I was rude, you know. I told them, you know, do you know how long I've been taking weed, eh? Or you think you are teaching me how to do this thing, eh? So they told me, okay, just walk behind that den, eh? Nobody will ask you, will protect you, just go do your things. Yeah. So I went and I took more than, I was, you know, I'm in a new town. I'm fearing these guys. They look like chocolate, you know. Here I am in a new shirt, suit and tie, you know, and well-polished shoes, you know. And now the craving is here pushing me, and I've gotten the drug, you know. Now it's doing it very fast. By the time I was 7th puff, my mind started telling me, you know what? Hey, this thing is not like the things you are used to there in Nairobi, you know. I was just being conscious of my head, you know, from neck downward. I had to pinch myself, you know. Yeah, to be sure, to be sure that I was still alive, you know. And every step I used to take, I was like feeling my heart is about to burst, you know. So every step I was taking, I was feeling, my heart was beating, and I realized this is not the normal thing that I'm used to. Wow. So by the time I was reaching to the guy who was waiting for me, the boda guy, I had lost it, you know. I was not in the world. I was out of the world, you know. Yeah, so I told him to take me somewhere I can take some water just to try and cool down, because I was getting high and high and high every minute. I could not understand it. My mind was telling me this is not the thing that you know. I was you are used to. I was even praying, God, please, God, take me to the level that I'm used to, oh dear Father, because I'm losing it. I started having hallucinations. Yeah, panic attack. Panic attack are things that comes and you get panic. You realize that I'm about to die. My heart is about to burst. So the guy took me to a certain hotel, Shiki Hotel. I think it's called Shiki Hotel or what, in Nakuru. So I went. I washed my I washed my hands. I wiped my mouth. And the more the time was getting, the more I was getting high and high. So when I got out and I was closing the street, yeah, I got this panic attack. I started seeing everywhere darkness coming, and by the time it was about to get dark, I knelt down in the street. I lifted my hands up and prayed to God, please, God, spare me, because I had also started seeing some newspaper obituary page. I started seeing my photo there, yeah, written that this guy came into Nakuru and he died of heart attack. So I knelt down to the street and I shouted, oh God, please save me, oh dear Father. And God was gracious enough. He answered my prayers. By the way, that's God who answered my prayers. Because when I came to, kneeling on the street, Kobalabala, I found some cars stopped, zimesimama mbele, zingine nyuma, people surrounding me, and and the weed started telling me, you look like a pastor, why don't you preach to these people? And I started preaching, watu wa Nakuru, God is telling you to mtubu dhambi. And then in my head I started hearing another song singing, umekwisha potea, wapotea mtoto mzuri. Wacha nikwambia, nilitoka mbio, nikaenda mpaka stage ya Nairobi. By the time nilikuwa nafika Nairobi, the things that I had experienced, I had really resolved I'll never take weed again. But when I reached to Nairobi, I realized, okay, hata kama nimeamua nitaacha, wacha nifanye summary. So nikapitia kwa another pedra hapo, nikachukua, and the fight continued. I could not understand why I was not able to stop, and I remember I continued all that until one day I found myself, every time I used to take alcohol and weed, every time I would take alcohol, I would take weed. Every time I take weed, I would take alcohol. So I had a multiple addiction, So I remember this day, after getting sick and tired, I'm desiring to stop, but I don't know how to stop, Yeah, I'm trying, I'm praying and fasting. I stop for 1 week, and then from there, when I go back, the craving comes, and once I start using, it's like I've opened a floodgate, I would take more and more, like as if I'm compensating for that 1 week that I've been dry, and I couldn't stop. Once I started thinking about it, about the drugs, the craving would come, and before I realized, I'm already in the peddler's place, already taking and beating myself. Why am I doing this? Why can't I stop? All those things. If you have gone there, if you have been there, you understand what I'm saying. And if you are there is a solution. That's what I want to tell you. There is a solution. Because I remember one day I was on the frothy floor, high on weed, and I wanted to jump and end my life. Just end it all. End this pain of doing things over and over and over, expecting different results. That's what they call insanity. But this day, when I was about to jump, I had a voice asking me, supposing ukose kukuva ukue kiwete. Well, hey, that was a wake-up call for me. So I prayed God to help me not to do it. Yeah. So after that, I remember one day I was seated somewhere at Uhuru Park, high on weed and alcohol. That was back in 2011 November, and I saw a guy passing by Hood Park. I recognized the guy. I used to meet him in town, and he was from our hometown, our home area in Nyeri, back in Nyeri. So I called the guy and invited him for a drink, and he told me, you know what? These days I have 2 months, I'm 2 months sober. I could not understand. How can you stay a day without drug? How can you stay a day without drink? That's impossible. But he told me it's possible. So he invited me into a support group that he was going to. And when I got into that support group, I was so much surprised, because the things that I learned in that support group helped me in recovery. From that time, I stopped drinking and my life changed. Welcome back for the next time. We'll continue.